I smooth down my plain navy dress in front of the mirror, tugging at the hem that brushes just below my knees. The bathroom light flickers, throwing uneven shadows across my face, highlighting every line carved by the last 6 years. You look like a princess, Mommy. Layla's voice pulls me out of my harsh self-critique. She stands in the doorway, brown eyes shining with admiration, clutching Mr. Whiskers, the stuffed cat she's cherished since she was 3. Thank you, sweetheart. My hands tremble slightly as I clasp the pearl necklace she chose from my jewelry box, the same one Mom gave me for my 16th birthday, back when I was still the daughter, with a future they planned out. I force a smile at my reflection, but it doesn't quite reach my eyes. 6 years of night shifts as a nurse have trained me to fake alertness at 4 a.m. Surely I can fake confidence for one dinner. Layla shifts in her yellow sundress, the thrift store find from last month. Will Aunt Savannah be glad to see us this time? Even at 6, she notices more than I wish she did. Of course she will. The lie is bitter on my tongue. The Italian restaurant looms ahead like a fortress, its stone walls glowing under elegant spotlights. Valets dart between gleaming luxury cars while soft music floats through the entrance. My grip tightens on the steering wheel. My old sedan looks hopelessly out of place among the polished BMWs and Mercedes. A dent in the passenger door flashes under the lights, a reminder of the runaway shopping cart I couldn't stop last month. Is this where we're eating? Layla presses her face to the window, her breath clouding the glass. It looks so fancy. Yes, sweetheart. I glance at my reflection in the rearview mirror, checking my lipstick one last time. Remember what we talked about? Best manners tonight. Yes, ma'am. She nods seriously, though her eyes sparkle with excitement. I'll be extra good. The hostess's gaze lingers on us, taking in my plain dress and Layla's secondhand shoes. Her smile holds steady, but something in her eyes changes when I give her our name. Tora's anniversary party, I say, lifting my chin. Of course. She checks her tablet. Right this way. We trail behind her through the restaurant, past tables of elegantly dressed couples sipping wine, through the softly lit main area alive with conversation and fresh flowers, until we reach the back. A long table stretches beneath a glittering chandelier. At the center, Savannah and Ethan sit like royalty presiding over their court. My sister's blonde highlights catch the light, her diamond earrings sparkling with each graceful turn of her head. Beside her, Ethan looks sharp in a tailored suit, his warm, open expression a sharp contrast to the cool faces around them. The hostess places us at the far end, right by the swinging kitchen doors that burst open every few minutes, spilling heat and noise into the room. Layla climbs onto her chair, her eyes wide as she takes in the multiple forks and spoons arranged before her. Mom spots us and makes her way over her heels, clicking against the hardwood floor. She leans in, her perfume enveloping me in a cloud of expensive scent as she air kisses my cheek. You actually look presentable tonight, dear. She whispers, smoothing down my collar as if I were still 12. Thanks, Mom. I keep my voice neutral, even as her words settle like small stones in my stomach. Dad gives a distracted wave from his seat, his eyes never fully meeting mine as he returns to his conversation with Ethan's father. Savannah glides over champagne, flute in hand, her red dress hugging curves that haven't been stretched by childbirth. My big sister finally made it. Her voice carries just enough for the entire table to hear, and with her own situation. Layla looks up at the unfamiliar word, her brow furrowing. Savannah. Happy anniversary. I bend to kiss her cheek, ignoring the barb. You remember Layla? Of course I do. Savannah pats Lila's head like she's a puppy. You've gotten so big. Ethan approaches a smile, genuine, as he gives me a brief hug. Danica, good to see you and Miss Layla. I hear you started kindergarten this year. Layla nods enthusiastically. I can write my whole name now while Savannah drifts back to the center of the table. Ethan stays, asking Layla about school and complimenting her yellow dress. Something in his kindness makes my throat tighten. The evening progresses with toasts and announcements. Glasses clink as someone proposes a toast to the happy couple's 3rd anniversary. Ethan stands, his face flushed with pride as he announces his construction company's $5 million contract. The table erupts in applause and congratulations. I clap quietly, genuinely happy for him. 2 years ago, he had called me in tears when he lost his job, his voice breaking as he admitted he didn't know how to tell Savannah. I remember staying up after my shift to help him polish his resume, connecting him with a construction site manager I knew from the hospital. Savannah rises for her toast, her champagne glittering under the chandelier light. Her gaze sweeps the table before landing on me. To 3 wonderful years with the most amazing man. She raises her glass, and to many more successes to come. Her smile turns sharp as her eyes lock with mine. I just hope I never end up like some people over 30. Single and barely scraping by. The table ripples with uncomfortable laughter. Dad chuckles and adds, "Men don't want women with kids already, sweetheart. You dodged that bullet." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stare at my plate, heat rushing to my face as conversations continue around me. Then a small voice beside me cuts through the noise. "Mom, why are they laughing at you?" Layla's question hangs in the air. Innocent and devastating. My hands tremble beneath the table as I struggle to maintain composure. Mom's faint, complicit laugh deepens the wound. Before I can answer, a chair scrapes loudly against the floor. The sound slices through conversation, and the room falls silent. I look up to see Ethan standing, his expression serious. He walks deliberately around the table until he stands beside me. "That wasn't a joke," he says, his voice clear and firm. "That was cruel." Savannah's mouth falls open, shock etched across her perfect features. My parents shift uncomfortably in their seats, looking anywhere but at me. Layla looks up at Ethan with curious eyes. Sensing something important is happening 2 years ago, Ethan continues. "When I was at my lowest point, do you know who was there for me?" He scans the table, his gaze lingering on Savannah. "It wasn't my friends. It wasn't my family. It was Danica." I watch as realization dawns on faces around the table. A memory flashes through my mind. Ethan's desperate phone call. Savannah dismissing his struggles as just a setback. The hours I spent helping him rebuild his confidence while juggling night shifts and raising Lila alone as Ethan speaks. Something shifts inside me. For years, I believed their narrative that my life was a cautionary tale, that being a single mother made me less valuable, less worthy. But listening to him now, I begin to see myself through different eyes. The strongest and kindest person here, Ethan says, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder, is Danica. Ethan stands beside me, his presence solid and unexpected as the entire room holds its breath. The soft clink of silverware against plates has stopped. Even the waiters hover at the edges. Sensing the shift in atmosphere 2 years ago, Ethan continues, his voice steady but tight with emotion. "I lost my position at Brentwood Construction after the merger. For 3 months, I couldn't find work." His gaze sweeps the table, lingering on Savannah. "I fell into a depression so deep I barely recognized myself. I racked up $6,000 in credit card debt, just keeping up appearances." Savannah shifts in her chair, her perfectly manicured fingers twisting the stem of her wineglass. The diamond on her left hand catches the light flashing like a warning signal. "Ethan, this isn't the time." "When exactly is the time?" "Savannah?" His question hangs in the air between them. I stare at my lap, feeling the weight of every eye at the table. The memory of his late-night phone call surfaces, his voice breaking as he admitted he'd been sitting in his car for 2 hours, afraid to tell Savannah he'd been rejected for another position. While I was struggling, Ethan says, turning slightly toward me, "Danica checked on me weekly. She rewrote my resume at 3 in the morning after finishing a 12-hour shift. She introduced me to Mark Kelly, the site manager at County General, who gave me my first contract." Dad clears his throat, uncomfortable with this disruption to the family narrative, but Ethan isn't finished. "Danica was the one who suggested I start my own company instead of chasing another corporate position. She did this while working night shifts, raising Lila alone, and living on a budget so tight she was cutting coupons for groceries." With each revelation, Savannah seems to physically shrink in her seat. Her shoulders curl inward, the confident posture she maintained moments ago, collapsing like a souffle removed too early from the oven. She even watched James for me when I had my first client meeting, Ethan adds, mentioning their 5-year-old son. Remember Savannah, you had that spa weekend with your college friends. The silent stretch is broken only when Aunt Cheryl's voice rises from 3 seats down.
He's right.
Her weathered hand reaches for her water glass. When I was going through chemo last year and couldn't drive myself to treatments, Danica was the only one who took time off work to help me. The admission seems to open a floodgate. She helped my Robbie with his nursing school applications. Uncle Frank adds, spent hours on the phone walking him through the process. The table buzzes with similar stories, small kindnesses I'd extended over the years, moments I never expected acknowledgement for. Certainly not here. Layla looks up at me, her small face a mixture of confusion and pride. Mom helps everybody, she states with childlike simplicity. Something shifts in my chest, a long-held tightness beginning to unravel. Savannah's face flushes, deep crimson. She stands abruptly, her napkin falling to the floor. I was just joking. Her voice rises, drawing glances from nearby tables. God, Danica has always been too sensitive. It's not my fault. She makes questionable life choices. The words hang in the air, mean and desperate, but they don't sink into my skin the way they would have an hour ago. Do you have feelings for my sister? Savannah hurls the accusation at Ethan, her voice brittle with embarrassment. The collective gasp around the table sounds like a sudden gust of wind. Ethan looks at her, disappointment etched across his features. I have deep respect for her, he says quietly. Something you should have too. My parents sit frozen, trapped between daughters, unwilling to choose sides when they've spent decades making their preference clear. Mom fiddles with her pearl bracelet while Dad studies the contents of his water glass as if it holds answers. The moment stretches, and in that space, memories surface like bubbles rising in water. Savannah celebrated her college graduation with an extravagant party, caterers, a live band, the works. My nursing pinning, on the other hand, was marked with nothing more than a quick meal at Olive Garden. They put $30,000 toward her wedding, while my milestone earned me nothing but a curt congratulations card. And when Layla was born, the so-called weekly family dinners turned into showcases of Savannah's successes, with mine treated as footnotes, if they were acknowledged at all. For years, I've gone to these gatherings like a beggar waiting for scraps of approval, while my sister was showered with admiration. I convinced myself I just had to work harder to earn what she was given so freely. But now, the truth settles over me like warm water. I was never undeserving. It's simply that they're incapable of valuing anything outside their narrow definition of success. I rise slowly, every motion deliberate. The chair legs drag softly against the carpet, and the chatter around the table dies instantly. Thank you, Ethan, for your kindness. My voice is quieter than I expected, but it doesn't shake. For the first time, I look each of them in the eye. I've spent years chasing their respect. Tonight, I finally understand I don't need it anymore. Layla slips her little hand into mine, the simple act so full of trust it almost undoes me. Ready to go home, sweetheart? I ask. She nods, then looks back at the table. Thank you for inviting us to your party, she says, her manners flawless, just as I taught her. The bread was really good. Despite everything, I can't help but smile. Even Aunt Cheryl lets out a soft chuckle. We head toward the exit, my spine straight, shoulders squared. The warm light of the restaurant stretches our shadows across the polished floor, a mother and daughter walking forward together. I catch my parents almost speaking, their mouths opening, then closing in silence. Ethan offers me a quiet nod as we step outside. The night air feels different on my skin, cleaner somehow. I fasten Layla into her seat, making sure the buckle clicks. Are Aunt Savannah and Uncle Ethan still married? She asks suddenly, making me laugh. Yes, honey, I answer, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. Grown-up relationships are complicated. The car rolls forward, carrying us away from the restaurant. A weight I've carried so long I'd forgotten its presence begins to lift. My worth was never determined by their approval. Perhaps it never will be. And for the first time, that feels like freedom rather than failure. The car feels too quiet as we pull away from the restaurant. My knuckles turn white against the steering wheel in the rearview mirror. Layla's face glows pale in the dashboard light, her small fingers fidgeting with Mr. Whisker's worn ear. Are Grandma and Grandpa mad at us? Her voice sounds small in the darkness. I swallow hard. Buying time. How do I explain family dysfunction to a 6-year-old? No, sweetheart, they're not mad. Sometimes families disagree about how people should treat each other. Like when Tommy pushed Lucy at recess, and Mrs. Martin said that wasn't respectful. A surprised laugh escaped my throat. Something like that. Everyone deserves respect, even if they're different or make choices others would make. She considers this, nodding solemnly. I think you deserve lots of respect, Mommy. The tears I've been fighting spring to my eyes, but I blinked them back. Thanks, sweetheart. You too. Back at our apartment, I draw a warm bath for Lila, pouring in the last capful of bubble solution we've been saving. The pipes creak as the tub fills with hot water, the sound a familiar part of our modest life. While Lila splashes happily, I sit on the closed toilet lid, letting the steam chase away the restaurant's lingering perfume. Can we read 2 stories tonight? Lila asks as I wrap her in our worn but clean towel. Just one tonight, it's getting late. I help her into pajamas sprinkled with faded stars. After brushing teeth and saying prayers, I tuck her into bed. The sheets carry the scent of the lavender sachet I stitched together last month, a small indulgence that cost only time. Mommy? Her voice trembles as I move to leave. Are we going to be okay? I sink back onto the mattress, feeling it dip beneath me. Yes, Lila. We have each other, and that's enough. Once she drifts off, I sit alone at the tiny kitchen table. Bills lie spread before me like tarot cards, spelling out a bleak future. Only then do I let the tears fall, hot, silent, onto an overdue electric notice. I give myself exactly 5 minutes to cry. Then I wipe my face with a paper towel, take a deep breath, and pick up my pen. There's still enough in my account to cover the electric bill if I put off buying new shoes until next month. I make the necessary calculations. My nursing school math serving me well. Morning brings a barrage of notifications on my phone. 3 missed calls from Mom. A text from Dad that simply reads, "Call your mother." Savannah's message appears at 7 a.m. You're making this a bigger deal than it is. Ethan was completely out of line. I delete it without responding and wake Lila for school later as I'm rushing to drop Lila. Mrs. Winters is before my shift. A text from Aunt Cheryl brings an unexpected smile. You handled yourself with real grace, love. I always knew you carried your grandmother's strength. The last text was from Ethan. I meant every word. Thank you for everything. I slipped the phone back into my pocket without replying. Some messages don't need answers. They only need to be acknowledged. At work, I move differently now. The night shift unfolds in its usual rhythm, medication rounds, vitals, charting, but something inside me has changed. I carry myself taller, my voice steadier when I call the on-call doctor about a patient's falling oxygen levels. You've seemed different lately, Danica. My supervisor Martha remarked 3 weeks later as we sipped coffee in the break room. More confident. I just shrugged, though inwardly I knew she was right. I'm applying for the night shift supervisor role, I admitted instead. Her brows lifted, then softened into a smile. About time. The application closes Friday. I'll put in a good word. To my surprise, my coworkers rallied behind me. Ellen from Pediatrics offered to help polish my resume, while James from the ER recommended leadership books that had helped to move forward. Their encouragement was the opposite of my family's dismissal. And Layla was flourishing too. Her kindergarten teacher sends home a note about her exceptional empathy with classmates. She shows me a drawing labeled my family with just 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, both with enormous smiles and joined hands. That's us, she says, pointing proudly. Just us. I tape it to our refrigerator, right next to the chart, tracking our new beginning jar, where we drop spare change and single-dollar bills whenever we can. The jar sits on our counter like a promise, catching sunlight through our kitchen window. We create small rituals of celebration. Tuesday becomes homemade pizza night, the dough rising on our counter while Lila does homework. Saturday mornings, we decorate the sidewalk outside our apartment building with chalk masterpieces that wash away with the afternoon rain. We read library books under a blanket, fought whispering stories like secrets between us. 3 months after the dinner, Martha calls me into her office. Her face gives nothing away as she gestures to the chair across from her desk. The hospital administration reviewed all the applications for night shift supervisor. She begins shuffling papers with maddening slowness. My heart sinks. I've been allowing myself to hope, calculating what the modest salary increase would mean. Maybe a 2-bedroom in a slightly better neighborhood. Piano lessons for Lila. An emergency fund that wouldn't be depleted by a single car repair. And they've decided to offer you the position. Martha finishes her serious expression, breaking into a wide grin. Congratulations, Danica. That evening, my colleague surprised me with a small cake in the break room to Nurse Torres. Ellen says, raising a paper cup of sparkling cider. Our new night supervisor at home. I open my laptop and pull up apartment listings I've bookmarked over the past months, but never had the courage to pursue. With trembling fingers, I send an inquiry about a 2-bedroom unit in Willow Creek Apartments. What are you looking at him? Lila asks, peering over my shoulder. Maybe a new place for us to live? I answer, scrolling through photos of a small but sunny apartment with a patch of grass outside. Her eyes widen. Can I have yellow walls in my room like sunshine? I kiss the top of her head. Maybe we can, baby. Maybe we can. 2 weeks later, my phone lights up with my mother's number. I stare at it, thumb hovering over the screen. The last time we spoke was the night of the dinner. I answer on the 4th ring. Hello, Danica. My mother's voice sounds older somehow. Your father, and I miss Lila. We were thinking you both could come for Sunday lunch. The invitation hangs between us, laden with unspoken tensions. I take a deep breath. We can visit for an hour, but I need to know that Lila and I will be treated with respect. The silence stretches so long, I wonder if she's hung up. Finally a sigh. Yes. Of course. 1 o'clock after hanging up. I meet Sarah for coffee. Our daughters play together in the park while we watch from a bench, steam rising from our cups against the autumn chill. You did what many of us wish we could do. Sarah says when I tell her about setting boundaries with my family. A fellow nurse and single mother, she understands the delicate balance we maintain daily. I'm terrified, I admit. Part of me still wants their approval. She squeezes my hand. That part never quite goes away. But you're teaching Layla something powerful by standing up for yourself. That day, I helped a new nurse named Rachel rearrange her schedule to accommodate her son's therapy appointments. The relief in her eyes when I approve the changes without hesitation reminds me of my own struggles. My last supervisor made me feel like my son was an inconvenience. She says, voice thick with emotion, your son is the reason you work so hard. I tell her, never feel sorry for being a good mother. With my very first supervisor paycheck, I sign Layla up for piano lessons at the community center. At a secondhand shop, we discover a small keyboard. Its case scratched, but the sound far better than expected. It's not perfect, I caution as we set it up in our living room. Layla runs her fingers over the keys, coaxing a soft stream of notes. It's beautiful, she says. And in that instant, through her eyes, it truly is. 6 months after the dinner that changed everything, we move into a new apartment. Sunlight spills through windows larger than in our old place. The kitchen counters are smooth and unbroken. The bathroom faucet doesn't drip. Layla dashes from room to room, her excitement contagious. When she reaches her bedroom, she freezes, then gasps. You painted it yellow. The landlord gave me permission, I explain, smiling at her delight. I did it yesterday while you were at Sarah's. That evening, after we unpack the essentials, I hang our family photos. There aren't many, just Layla's school portraits, a candid shot of us at the park, and a Polaroid the nurse took the day she was born. No extended family portraits, no holiday gatherings. Just us. And somehow that seems right. As twilight bathes our new home in golden light, Layla practices her piano. The simple melody fills our apartment, wrapping around us like a blessing. I sit by the window, watching her small fingers move across the keys. Her face a study in concentration. At this moment of quiet triumph, I finally recognize my own reflection in my daughter's determined expression. We built this life together, one small victory at a time. And while the road hasn't been easy, I wouldn't trade this hard one piece for anything. The fluorescent hospital lights wash over the nursing schedule board as I make my final adjustments. My pen moves with confidence, shifting names and times into a pattern that seems obvious now, but took weeks to envision. You're actually doing it. Sarah whispers beside me, her eyes wide with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. The schedule, everyone said, couldn't be fixed. I step back, surveying my handiwork. The rotation allows parents to be home for dinner 3 nights a week, gives everyone 1 weekend off per month, and still maintains coverage for all shifts. No more mothers missing dance recitals. No more fathers working 6 nights straight. Torres Hospital Administrator Stevens appears in the doorway, clipboard tucked under his arm, his usual expression of mild disapproval replaced by something. I can't quite read a word. Sarah squeezes my arm as I follow him to his office. The click of my practical shoes echoing down the corridor. He sits behind his desk, reviewing my proposal with careful attention. Your approach has reduced turnover by 15% in the trial period. He looks up, his gaze direct. The board wants to implement it hospital-wide. Pride blooms in my chest. Warm and unfamiliar. Thank you, sir. Credit where it's due. He hands me the approved paperwork. Janet mentioned you might consider pursuing your MSN. The hospital has scholarship options. Walking back to the nurse's station, I feel a lightness in my step that hasn't been there in years. The afternoon brings unexpected visitors. Ethan's familiar figure appears at the entrance, blueprints tucked under his arm. Behind him follows a tall man with salt and pepper hair and laugh lines etched around kind eyes.
Surprise inspection.
Ethan jokes, approaching the desk. Actually, we're meeting with Stevens about the new pediatric wing. He gestures to his companion, Danica. This is David Whitman. He owns Whitman Paint and Supply. David, this is Danica Torres, nursing supervisor. And the reason I'm still in business. David extends his hand. His palm is warm and calloused, his handshake firm without being domineering. Ethan speaks highly of you. Says you're the most competent person he knows. He rushes to my face. He exaggerates. I doubt that. David's smile reaches his eyes, crinkling the corners. My company is overseeing all the specialty coatings for the children's wing, antimicrobial paints, low VOC finishes. David's a widower, Ethan announces, about as subtle as a freight train. His son James is 14. I shoot him a look, but he only grins, shameless. How old is your daughter? David asks, apparently oblivious to Ethan's matchmaking. Lila's 6. She just started piano lessons. James plays too, though reluctantly. His laugh is warm and full, though he admits James prefers his electric guitar, to the dismay of their neighbors. The conversation flows more easily than I expect. David asks thoughtful questions about pediatric care spaces, and I share insights on how color psychology can support healing. When Stephen calls them into their meeting, David lingers just a moment longer. Would you be open to getting coffee sometime to talk more about the project? Of course. His voice holds a trace of hesitation that only makes him more endearing. Before I can reply, Ethan jumps in for me. She's free Thursday afternoon. Lila has piano then, right? I nod, caught between irritation at his presumption and gratitude for his confidence. Thursday would work. As they walk off, Ethan shoots me a thumbs up behind David's back. I shake my head, but can't suppress a smile. The next morning, I'm pushing a cart through Westfield Market when I spot a familiar blonde head in the produce section. Savannah stands alone, examining avocados with unnecessary concentration. I consider slipping away, but Lila has already spotted her Aunt Savannah. She calls, waving enthusiastically. Savannah looks up, her perfectly composed features registering surprise. She hesitates, then approaches with a gift bag. I hadn't noticed she was carrying Lila.
Danica.
Her voice lacks its usual sharp edge. She holds out the bag to Lila. I saw this and thought of you inside as a music book with simplified versions of Disney songs. Lila clutches it to her chest, beaming. Thank you. I'm learning piano now. An awkward silence stretches between us adults until Savannah clears her throat. Ethan said you moved to Willow Creek Apartments.
How is it?
The question seems genuine, lacking her usual judgment. It's nice. Lila has her own room. There's a park nearby. Savannah nods, her fingers fidgeting with her wedding ring. That's good. That's really good. We exchange a few more stilted pleasantries before parting ways as we walk away. Lila looks up at me. Aren't Savannah seem different? Yes, I murmur.
She did.
Thursday arrives with unexpected butterflies in my stomach. I haven't been on a date since before Lila was born. The nurses at the station noticed my distraction.
Girl.
He called the hospital specifically asking for you. Marissa teases as I check my lipstick for the third time. That's straight out of a romance novel. I roll my eyes, though a smile sneaks onto my face. It's just coffee to talk about the pediatric wing project. Of course it is. She gives an exaggerated wink, which explains the nice jeans and the mascara. The cafe David picked is conveniently halfway between the hospital and Lila's piano lessons. When I walk in, he's already seated, a newspaper folded neatly beside his cup. He stands as soon as he spots me, his smile easy and warm. I wasn't sure how you take your coffee, he says once we've greeted each other. So I waited. Black with 1 sugar. I answer, touched by the thoughtfulness. Our conversation flows effortlessly from the hospital project to our kids to the realities of single parenthood. David lost his wife to cancer 4 years ago. When he speaks of her, grief still lingers in his eyes, though it no longer overtakes him. The hardest part, he confesses, was learning how to be both parents. James needed his mother's softness, but I only knew how to be his father. I nod in full sympathy. For me, it was the practical things. Fixing what broke. Teaching Layla the lessons her dad should have been the one to give. Does he see her at all? David asks carefully. He left when I was 5 months pregnant. He's in Seattle now with a new family. I'm surprised by how little pain accompanies the words now. David doesn't offer platitudes or outrage on my behalf. Instead, he asks about Lila's piano lessons. His genuine interest in my daughter means more than any compliment he could pay me. When we part ways, he walks me to my car. I'd like to see you again, Danica. Maybe dinner next time. For once, I don't overthink my response. I'd like that too. Sunday arrives with familiar dread as Lila and I pull up to my parents' house for lunch. The modest brick home looks exactly as it has for 20 years. My mother's roses blooming precisely along the walkway. Dad opens the door before we knock. His eyes soften at the sight of Lila, though his greeting to me remains awkward. How's the new position treating you? The question feels like an olive branch. However clumsy. It's challenging but good. Mom bustles out from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. I always knew you'd make supervisor someday, she announces, as if she hadn't expressed doubt about every career decision I've ever made. I don't contradict her. Instead, I help set the table while Lila shows them her progress in the music book Savannah gave her. Their stiff praise gradually warms as she plays Twinkle, Twinkle with careful concentration. Lunch passes without barbed comments or comparisons to Savannah. Our conversations stick to safe ground: Dad's garden, Mom's church group, Lila's schoolwork. It isn't exactly warm, but it isn't cold either. Something in between, like the first days of spring. 9 months after the disastrous anniversary dinner, my apartment is alive with chatter and laughter. Sarah darts after her daughter Zoe through the living room while Aunt Cheryl arranges cheese and crackers on the coffee table. In the kitchen, 3 of my nursing coworkers cluster around the island, deep in debate over the hospital's new electronic record system. The doorbell rings, and Lila races to open it. They're here. David and James step inside, carrying a potted plant and a tin of homemade cookies. Just behind them I spot Mrs. Fitzgerald, our elderly neighbor, whom David had insisted we invite once he learned she had no family nearby. Sorry we're late, David says, pressing a kiss to my cheek. James wanted to make the cookies from scratch. The teenager rolls his eyes, though the praise clearly pleases him. He heads straight for Lila, who worships him with the fierce devotion only a 6-year-old can have for a cool teenage boy. Ladies and gentlemen, Lila declares with dramatic flair, I will now perform my recital pieces. Everyone gathers around our second-hand upright piano as Layla plays 3 simple songs, her small fingers careful on the keys. When she finishes for Elise, simplified for beginners, the applause is genuine and enthusiastic. David's arm slips around my waist as we watch James show Layla a new chord progression. She's remarkable, he murmurs, just like her mother. I look around the room at these people who've become my chosen family. Sarah, who understands single motherhood, challenges Aunt Cheryl, who always believed in me. My colleagues who respect my professional judgment, and David, who sees me clearly and values what he sees. The contrast with last year's anniversary dinner couldn't be starker. There I was, diminished and dismissed. Here I am, celebrated and seen. Layla's laughter rings out as James teaches her a silly song about a walrus. David's hand finds mine warm and steady at this moment, surrounded by genuine affection. I realize I've created something precious. A circle of love built on respect rather than obligation. A family of choice. The invitation arrives on cream-colored stationery edged with gold foil. I flip it between my fingers, my stomach tightening as I read the embossed script celebrating 4 years of marriage. Savannah and Ethan.
Pitt.
Same restaurant, same family. 1 year later, Layla spots the card as she arranges her homework on the kitchen table. What's that, Mommy? An invitation to Aunt Savannah and Uncle Ethan's anniversary dinner. The memory of last year's humiliation flashes through my mind. Lila's innocent question. The table's uncomfortable laughter. My hands trembling beneath the tablecloth. Are we going? Layla asks, her pencil hovering above her math worksheet. I'm not sure yet. Later, after tucking Layla into bed, I call Ethan. His voice sounds cautious when he answers. I wanted to talk about the invitation. I say, curling up in the corner of my sofa.
Things are different now, he says.
Savannah has been seeing a therapist after you left last year. It changed things. I twist the phone cord around my finger, remembering how Ethan stood beside me that night. His voice cutting through the cruelty. I appreciate that, but I need to protect Layla. I understand. The next evening, David and I walk through the park near my apartment building. Layla running ahead to the swings. What are you afraid will happen if you go? As we settle onto a bench, he asks if anything has really changed, or if they'll just find quieter ways to make me feel small. David takes my hand, his thumb tracing across my knuckles. You're stronger now. You can face this on your own terms. His certainty in me gives me the push I've been waiting for. That night, before agreeing, I call my sister directly. I need to know what I'm walking into. I tell Savannah, my voice steadier than it's ever been with her. The silence lingers long enough that I wonder if she's hung up. Then she says softly, I'd like us to try again. Another pause. I've been working on myself. The vulnerability in her tone startles me. It's not the voice of the sister who always carried herself with effortless confidence. Okay, I finally answer. We'll come. By Saturday afternoon, Layla and I are at the department store, something we rarely do. Instead of borrowed outfits and thrifted finds like last year, there's now a sense of choice that comes with my supervisor's salary. Layla spins in a purple dress, tiny embroidered flowers circling the hem. This one, please, Mom. I glance at the price tag and nod. It's perfect for myself. I select a simple emerald dress that fits well across my shoulders and cinches at the waist. The color brings out flecks of green in my eyes that I've never noticed before. At home, as I curl Layla's hair, I try to explain what forgiveness means. Sometimes people hurt us without meaning to. I tell her, separating another section of hair. Like when Emma said my lunch smelled funny. Something like that. And sometimes, if they're truly sorry, we can give them another chance. But not always. She looks up at me with those wise eyes. No, sweetie, not always. I set the curling iron down. We're going to see if Aunt Savannah and Grandma and Grandpa are ready for their second chance. David picks us up at 630, whistling softly when he sees us. You two look beautiful. He kisses my cheek and helps Layla into his car. Her purple dress carefully arranged so it won't wrinkle in the passenger seat. I smooth my hands over my own dress, grateful for his steady presence. I'll pick you up at 9. He promises as he drops us off. Just text if you need me earlier. The restaurant looks exactly as I remember. Stone facade, valet attendants, luxury cars. But this time I walk through the door with my head high, Layla's hand warm in mine. The hostess smiles without a trace of last year's judgment. The Torres party is expecting you. We're barely inside when Savannah approaches, her hands clasped before her. She wears a simple black dress, her hair pulled back in a low twist. The usual sparkle of diamonds is absent from her ears. You came, she says.
Thank you.
Her eyes dart to Layla, then back to me. I notice the slight tremble in her fingers, the uncertainty in her posture. This isn't the Savannah I've known all my life. Your dress is so pretty, she tells Lila, bending slightly. There's a special kids' table with your cousins, if you'd like to join them. Layla looks up at me for permission. I nod, and she follows Savannah's gesture to her. 3 children sit at a smaller table adorned with coloring books and crayons. The main table is arranged differently this year. When I approach, I see my place setting near the center, nowhere near the swinging kitchen doors. My mother stands, her embrace stiff but genuine. You look lovely, Danica, she says, and I detect no backhanded compliment in her words. My father clears his throat. Good to see you both made it. Ethan pulls out my chair with a knowing smile. I'm glad you're here. All through dinner, I notice the small but telling changes. Conversations now include me instead of shutting me out. When I bring up my promotion, my parents actually ask follow-up questions. The harsh undertones from last year have been replaced by something fragile, yet genuine. After the main course, Savannah stands to give her toast, champagne flute in hand. Instinctively, I brace myself. This year has reminded me of what truly matters. Her gaze circles the table before settling on me. Some people show strength in ways we don't always see, she says. It isn't a direct apology, but her eyes carry a different message. When Ethan rises for his toast, he talks about his company's growth in advertising. None of it would have been possible without my support system. His look in my direction doesn't go unnoticed by anyone present. Later, while I'm choosing desserts from the buffet, my mother comes to stand beside me. We linger in uneasy silence until she finally speaks. We didn't see you for who you were, she admits, carefully arranging strawberries on her plate.
I'm sorry.
The words I've waited years to hear arrive quietly, almost casually. Between the chocolate fountain and the petit fours, I realize I had needed their support, not their judgment. I reply, my voice low but steady. My father joins us, hands in his pockets. Your mother's right. We favored Savannah. Always have. He offers no excuse, no justification. Just a simple acknowledgement that hangs between us. I look at their aging faces, seeing for the first time the insecurities behind their criticism of my choices. We'll see where we go from here. Near the end of the evening, Savannah touches my elbow. Can we talk outside? The night air is cool against my skin as we stand on the restaurant's stone patio. Savannah wraps her arms around herself, suddenly looking very young.
I was so jealous of your strength, she says,
tears gathering in her eyes. It was easier to mock than admire. Jealous of me? The words sound impossible. You've always known exactly who you are. You make decisions and stick with them, even when they're hard. She wipes at her cheek. Ethan and I have been trying for a baby for 3 years. Nothing's working. The fertility treatments are breaking. Me and our marriage nearly fell apart last summer. The confession pours out of her like water through a broken dam. All the perfect pictures on social media. The flawless family image hiding a reality as complicated as my own. I listen without rushing to comfort her. This pain doesn't erase what came before. But something shifts in me as I see my sister truly see her. Perhaps for the first time. Maybe we can start again. I say finally. Not like before. Something new. I'd like that. She hesitates, then opens her arms for a hug. I step forward, allowing the embrace, but not sinking into it before we leave. The family gathers for a photo. I stand beside my sister, no longer relegated to the edges. Layla beams between her grandparents, comfortable in a way she hasn't been before. When David arrives to pick us up, I introduce him to everyone. Savannah asks about his paint supply business, with what seems like genuine interest. Ethan watches us with a knowing smile, as if pleased by how much has changed in the car. Layla falls asleep almost immediately, her head against the window, purple dress rumpled from an evening of play with her cousins. "How was it?" David asks quietly. I look back at the restaurant, at the family still visible through the windows. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, I say. Thinking of my sister's tears, my parents' halting apologies. It creates space for a different future. As we pull away, I feel something loosen in my chest. Not the complete release of all hurts, but the first breath of something new. 2 years later, I stand at the edge of my garden. Early evening sun warming my shoulders. The clay pots of basil and rosemary release their scent when I brush my fingers across their leaves. My garden. My home. Words I never thought would belong together. Through the open windows, Lila's piano music drifts out. A simplified version of Beethoven's Ode to Joy that James taught her last weekend. Her playing has improved remarkably in the years since we moved in at 8. She attacks the keys with confidence that makes my heart swell inside. Framed photographs tell our story better than words could. Layla feeding ducks with mom and dad at the city park. Savannah and me laughing over coffee. Our faces reflected in the cafe window. David and me at the hospital fundraiser, his hand resting comfortably at my waist. The whole family gathered in this very backyard 3 months ago. Smoke rising from the grill as Dad taught James how to check if the burgers were done. Almost finished. Layla calls out when she notices me watching through the window. Her fingers trip over a difficult passage, but she recovers quickly. James has been a patient teacher, his teenage awkwardness falling away whenever he sits beside Layla at the piano bench. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. "How did the presentation go?" Earlier today, I spoke to a support group for single mothers at the community center. My message was simple but hard-won. Your worth isn't determined by those who cannot see it clearly. 20 women listened as I shared my journey from that humiliating anniversary dinner to today. I spoke to them about setting boundaries without resentment, about forgiveness that doesn't leave the door open for more hurt. Surround yourself with people who truly value you, I urged, watching understanding gradually light up weary faces. When I'd asked for an afternoon off to give that presentation 2 years ago, the hospital administration had been unexpectedly supportive. They could have doubted a night shift nurse stepping into an educator's role, but now, as I pursue my advanced nursing degree, they see me as an investment rather than a burden. A car rolls into the driveway, David's silver sedan, still marked with the small dent James left when he clipped a mailbox during a driving lesson. David steps out, juggling takeout bags and his briefcase. Our eyes meet across the yard, his smile deepening the lines at the corners of his eyes. "Thai food, just like you asked," he calls, raising the bags. "And I picked up that gardening book you wanted." I walk to meet him, taking both the food and the quick kiss he offers. Perfect timing, I say. Lila is nearly finished with her practice in the kitchen. While David sets the table, I fill glasses with water and lemon slices. The easy rhythm of domestic life still manages to surprise me. Over the months, Sunday dinners and Tuesday movie nights have created a steady rhythm between us. "So," he says lightly, leaning against the counter, "have you given any thought to my proposal last weekend, right here on this porch?" That was when David dropped to one knee. I'd asked for time, not because I doubted my answer, but because I wanted to hold on to the moment, to experience it fully instead of being carried away. "I have," I answer now, a smile spreading across my face. "Yes, on one condition. Layla has to help plan the wedding." His laughter rings through the kitchen. I wouldn't dream of it any other way. Just then my phone buzzes. Savannah is checking if we're still set for Saturday's appointment at the adoption agency. After years of fertility treatments, she and Ethan chose a different path to grow their family. When she invited me along for support, I knew what it really meant, an olive branch after years of rivalry. Sunday dinners at my parents' house have turned from battles into calm traditions. Mom actually listens when I talk about the nursing mentorship program I've launched. Dad proudly filmed every second of Lila's spring piano recital on his new phone, while the evening settled gently over the garden. I saw the first fireflies of the season flicker among the rose bushes inside. Lila's music drifts through the house while David prepares dinner. Soon James will return from his friend's place, and our circle will be complete. Life's greatest gift is often realizing your own value, even when others fail to recognize it. The path from that restaurant to this garden was far from straight, yet every difficult step brought me to this moment. This life, this piece of peace, is built on my own terms. Your value isn't defined by those unable to see it. It shows in how you rise each time someone tries to push you down.